Matt King, CEO of Fanatics Betting and Gaming. Thanks for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Fanatics obviously has its roots in e-commerce, and it's expanded to a host of other businesses. So why does it make sense to push into sports betting and sports gambling?
From our perspective, everything we do at Fanatics is about enhancing the fan experience and really creating an ecosystem for the fan where they can do everything that they want to do with Fanatics in a way that's easier for them and they get more rewarded for. And so gaming is a big part of, and gambling is a big part of the fan experience for a number of fans and millions of fans out there. And so it's a logical extension for us.
It's a space that is dominated by two companies in DraftKings and FanDuel. I'm curious, how you're thinking about gaining ground on these industry giant incumbents as you're kind of breaking in and kind of growing the business.
So we've been gaining ground on them for the last 2-3 years since we launched. And really it comes from how do you create a better proposition for them? So for us, that's things like, one, start with the Fanatics brand, which is a great brand. It's a sports first brand.
Yeah.
FanCash, which is our kind of common loyalty currency that you can earn and burn throughout the ecosystem. And on the gaming side, you earn up to 10% back every time you make a bet, win or lose. And then also we have Fair Play, which was an innovation of ours around injury protection now for the first half, where if you have a player-related market that a player gets injured in the first half, we effectively void the leg, which really addresses one of the biggest pain points for fans out there.
What are some of the other advantages too? Like from what I understand, on the tech side, many of the gambling apps are built on third-party software. Are you guys using proprietary? Do you guys kind of differentiate in that regard? Because I know DraftKings and FanDuel do have.
We are proprietary, and it's both. Technically, we own our own platform, but it's also just how we built the company.
Yeah.
We built the company very much as a Silicon Valley-esque, product and technology-led organization. So, I think we have the best engineering team in the industry, the best product team in the industry, and that's allowed us to get a product that is on par with the best apps out there very, very quickly, and frankly, be moving faster than the competition to launch new features.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. Also, one thing I want to hit on is kind of the idea of customer acquisition. When they started rolling out in New York, let's say, DraftKings, FanDuel, all these books were offering these crazy bonuses because they wanted to get people on the platform. How have you kept up with the cost of customer acquisition? Does having that big Fanatics database kind of give you an advantage no one else has?
So the database gives us an advantage, the brand gives us an advantage, and so when we benchmark our customer acquisition costs, they're the best in the industry.
Yeah.
And so, we think we've built a really efficient unit economic model.
What do those actual customer acquisition costs look like? Is there a range that you can kind of share or give us an idea?
No, typically people benchmark them, and if you look at the public disclosures, they tend to talk about paybacks, how many months does it take to pay back a customer?
Yeah.
And when we benchmark our paybacks relative to what's disclosed by the competition, we think we're the best in the industry.
Interesting. I guess I would be remiss if we didn't sit here and talk about prediction markets, because that's kind of the hottest thing in sports gambling right now. How does that factor into kind of what you're doing at Fanatics Betting? Obviously it feels like there's a prediction market launching everywhere, but how are you thinking about that and how that fits into the ecosystem?
So from our perspective, it's a new product category out there. When we talk to sports fans, they're very interested in it. They've heard about it. They don't really understand it yet. There's a lot of interest in kind of trying it. They'd like to try it from a trusted brand, because ultimately you're giving a lot of private information, you're giving money to this platform.
Yeah.
And so for them, they want to do it with a brand like Fanatics, where they know and trust us already, and they know that if we're offering it, there's a level of safety and trust that comes with that. And so we launched our prediction market platform about 60 days ago. Early customer feedback's been great. And we look at it as a product that we're going to operate in the markets where we don't have a state-level licensed sportsbook.
What are the challenges of odds making versus making markets and predictions?
They are different businesses, to your point. So for us, probably the biggest challenge for us is, in a regulated sportsbook, we take a lot of steps to ensure that a customer can bet whatever they want, whenever they want. So we have full availability, full combinability on parlays. And that's a lot harder to pull off in a prediction market environment where you're relying on third parties, and other customers to effectively make the markets.
Yeah.
And so, we're working hard with our partner Crypto.com to basically make sure that we have as much liquidity in our marketplace as possible.
How do you make money off of it? Because like in sports gambling, like it's a very simple concept at this point. You have the VIG, but prediction markets, there are a couple different business models floating around.
For us, it's really about the same as most kind of brokerage models, where we make a cut of the transaction through transaction fees and trade fees.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I guess you mentioned before about using this as a way to get in the markets where sports gambling isn't legal. Do you think this kind of raises the question of regulation and how are we going to see this regulated in the future?
So prediction markets are regulated today. They're just regulated through a federal kind of CFTC-driven regime. And so, for us, the way we look at it is it's effectively a parallel regulatory regime. What we know that's happening in states that don't have a state-level sports betting law is you have a large illegal market. Our kind of philosophical view is regulation is better than no regulation, because sports betting is going to exist no matter what. And if you don't have any regulation, if you only have the illegal market, you have no consumer protections, no integrity protections. What prediction markets do is they bring a level of regulation to those markets. Obviously, states are questioning how their state-level laws interact with the federal regulatory regime. And from our perspective, I think that is an issue that will play out in court over the next few years.
Well, the one thing that keeps coming up over and over again is there room for bad actors to operate in this space? Because there's a lot of information that isn't necessarily known to the public that people know that are tied to prediction markets. Now, sports is pretty well kept at this point, but if we were forming a prediction market about, is my microphone going to break before the interview, and I knew that it was broken, that creates a way of insider trading. And I'm wondering, do you guys think about that? Do you worry about that in terms of the markets you create?
So we certainly do, and one of the things that we did is kind of regardless of what the regulatorily required minimums are, we brought every bit of surveillance and consumer protection that we do in the sports book into prediction markets. And so I do think this is one where you will see bad actors out there. I think you will see the regulated platforms and the regulated exchanges go after those bad actors aggressively. I think you will see probably those bad actors migrate to some of the less regulated or non-regulated prediction market platforms. And so it'll be a battle while the industry comes to formation. But I think you'll end up in a world where, at the end of the day, this will operate like other financial markets where you have very clear guidelines, you have very clear rules. You will always have people try to break those rules. They will be prosecuted aggressively, and I think that'll create a deterrence effect that'll keep the activity to a minimum. But you look at the stock market. The stock market is one of our oldest financial markets, and you still have 50 to 60 insider trading cases every year because somebody does something dumb or somebody tries to cheat. But the fact that you have a very clear kind of prosecution element to it, I think keeps the deterrence as high.
So, the detractors would say, do we really need another form of gambling? Is there an ethical question you have to answer there about whether we do need, more types of gambling? Prediction markets aren't truly gambling, but they're a form of it. It's tangential to it.
Absolutely not. I think, again, I go back to the basic view of gambling exists no matter what, right? You are kidding yourself if you don't think that I can go out in any state in the nation and get on a sports betting or an iGaming platform. The only way that people have demonstrated an effective counter to the illegal market and the effective strategy to kind of shrink the illegal market is to actually legalize it and regulate it. It's the only way you can shrink the illegal market. And what we know to be true is that a legal market brings consumer protections and integrity that don't exist in the illegal market.
Do you think we're going to see full-time prediction traders like we see full-time Wall Street traders?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anytime you have billions of dollars of trading activity, you're going to see people that try to make a living at it. And because I think in a lot of cases, these prediction markets do play a very real role in financial hedging and other things.
Coming back to sports gambling, one thing that's interesting is obviously the margins are not as strong as, let's say, iGaming. And I'm wondering, there are some companies who have said, we would like to push people towards iGaming because the margins are better. Is that kind of a longer term thing you want to accomplish where you want people in the ecosystem with sports gaming and sports betting, even prediction markets, but then you're able to have this iGaming offering as well at some point?
We do have an iGaming offering, but our view is very simple, is we want to just create great product experiences and let people do what they want to do. And that's true of kind of Fanatics wide.
Yeah. What's your expectation for sports gambling in the US once we start to see markets like California and Texas come online? Because those are obviously sleeping giants waiting to come.
I think you're going to continue to see a lot of growth in the industry.
Yeah.
There's been obviously some headlines about handle growth slowing and everything else, but I think the reality is when you look underneath that, if you look last year, it was one of the historically worst for sports books. So customers were winning more, whereas this past December was kind of the opposite. And so I think you'll continue to see sports betting be a low double-digit growth industry for the foreseeable future.
Is the demographic of the typical sports bettor changing, or have you found that it's kind of similar as it's always been?
Pretty similar.
Yeah.
And to your earlier point, it's you see a lot of overlap with that demographic of the people that are trading on Robinhood and are trading crypto and everything else. And so you definitely see this kind of general trend towards people want to be able to kind of back their opinion with money and be rewarded if they're right.
Yeah. Before I let you go, I do have to ask you, do you have a pick for Sunday, a best bet, something you like?
All I hope for is a good game. So, because ultimately, if the game's close and there's lots of good action, people have a great time, they're able to get a lot of live bets on. So, this job kind of ruins you for rooting for any individual team. We just always hope for a good game.
Matt King, thanks for being here today.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.